I'm Streetside Anthony, and you're watching the Kranky Canadian.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday to you all. Another fine Monday here. I'm joined by one of the nicest people in the comic community. I am fully caffeinated as usual Mondays, and I have the big red cup next to me. And Viva la Canadien, go Habs go. I am ready to watch my Canadians win a Stanley Cup for the first time since '93. But before we get to that, let's talk to our man Lenny Serna. Lenny, say hello to everybody, man.
Hello, everybody.
Man of many words. Appreciate you joining me tonight all the way from sunny Florida.
Oh, yeah. Very, very hot. But I also hear that you're hot up in Florida.
Yeah, we're brutal right now here in Connecticut. It's 95, 100% humidity. You know, it's oppressive. They say it feels like it's 105 instead of 95, and it's going to be like that for the next probably 3 days.
Ooh, that's not good. But could be worse.
It could be worse. That's right. I could not have central air. That would be worse.
Oh, that would be a lot worse. Yeah, your comic books would light up in flames.
Yeah, right. You ain't kidding. I just recently got a storage facility for comic books. I just got too much here, and I put them somewhere. I bought the ones that have air conditioning and heat and stuff, and I should go check it out to see what it's like now that it's this hot, to see if that air conditioner actually works.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Before I go sticking comic books in there, but all right. So let's. Why don't you start off by telling YouTube a little bit about yourself, just like where you're from, where you grew up. Don't go too deep. I got a lot of questions for you.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, I was born and raised in New York City, actually, and back in the early '70s. I grew up in Hell's Kitchen, so I get a kick out of how I got into the comic books and then find out that Daredevil's right in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
And after so many years of being in New York City, got tired. In 2002, if I'm correct, we made the decision to move to Florida. So we've been here ever since, and don't regret it. The weather is incredible. Don't have to deal with snow anymore.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Beautiful. I can't stand the snow, and it's funny when you're younger. You can deal with so much. You can take the heat, take the cold, but as you get older, you're like, man, my legs are killing me. My back is hurting. You're falling apart, and you're like, I don't want to be here no more. And I want to be where the weather's great all the time. And so it was either two choices: Florida or California. California's just way too expensive. But Florida was the place to be, and I'm only like 30 minutes from the beach.
Nice.
It's a totally different lifestyle. Even though when we moved down here, Florida was a little, I want to call it, behind the times. You felt like you were 20 years behind. It's like it needed to catch up, and finally now things are so much different.
It's all because of you, Lenny. It's all you. Oh. You brought the you brought the update with you.
I wish. But no, I tell you, things are so much better now. But in the first 3 years, it was like, oh my God. And my brother was like, don't worry, it'll get better. You'll see. And he was right. Exactly the 30-year mark, things were so much better, so much easier. So don't regret it, love it. And as you already know, we're into the pressing and cleaning comics. As much as I love collecting. Been doing it for 42 years. Yeah, 42 years. Sold my collection 2 times over, and this third time around was due to my son, and I'm very happy and love it. I love doing the collecting of comics, but getting to this part of the how would you say, the industry or the hobby.
Yeah.
With the pressing and cleaning, which at one time, I'll be honest, that was like a taboo. People did it, but it was like on the hush hush, and everyone's like, oh no, I don't do that. Yeah, the guy does comic books. But now it's part of the industry. It's part of that. Okay, if you want the most for your money, and especially when you're selling stuff, you should press and clean books. And you already know that.
Yeah. I'm gonna cut you off there before you talk about stuff that I'm gonna ask you about. You're starting to touch on some stuff that we're gonna go over with questions. Don't do my interview for me. If you don't need me, if you're not going to use me, what good am I? What do you need me for, right? I forgot to. Yeah, I forgot to shout out the chat. So let me drop back and shout out the people in the chat here. So we have Will Not Obey, Mike the Beast Benson. What's up, brother? Sith Lorley, Spine Ticks. He's a closet Habs fan, and I'm happy to have you on board. Uncanny Swag. Michael Raphael, the man who's named after the Turtles. Newbie Comics, what's up, brother? We got, let me see. Chinmo.
Hey, Chinmo.
Doug Bratton in the house. I thought he wasn't going to be in. I guess it's the brothers here. Joffrey Castro. Pressable Deffects, what up, Matt? How are you? T. Ravis Comics, what's going on, my man? Because I skipped some people by accident. I think I'm caught up. If I missed you, sorry, guys. You know how it works. Oh, the Comic Forge Guy Forge is in the house. What's up? Back issue Paulie. How are you, brother? I think that's caught up. So if you guys, as usual, if you're in the chat and you have any questions for Lenny, just put it in the chat and I will try to do I'll try to highlight it, and if I miss it, ask it again. I won't ignore any questions. So there's a chance that I just missed it. So, all right. So next, so Lenny, you're not a big social media guy, man. You're, you're talking about behind the times. I think that's you when it comes to social media. But you're getting a bigger presence now. You're starting to post stuff on Instagram. You start. For anybody in the chat, and if you're watching this on Rewind, in the description of this video, you'll have a link to Spineworks on Facebook, Spineworks on Instagram, and Lenny's page on Instagram. I think those are the three that I put on there. So you can make sure you go to their pages and sub them up, follow them, whatever it is. So the first time I really connected with you was in the chat of our live shows. You see this guy, Lenny Serna, pop up. So how did you find our YouTube channel? And were you watching a lot of YouTube, or what channels were you watching? And how did you kind of run into 3 Men in the Basement?
Well, before we started Spineworks and all that, for me, the pressing and cleaning was a hobby thing, and just doing my own books. And, I heard people saying, oh, well, you got to go on YouTube and check out how other people do things and everything. And, for kicks and giggles, I would go on. And then, little by little, I was checking everybody else, like Spine Ticks. That's how I met Sith Lord Leon, Pressable Deffects. It was great to meet them in person. We got E-Rod, and then, of course, Lord of the Long Box. And then I saw, Otto on there. And, there was sometimes 3 people, 4 people, but Otto was so down to earth compared to everybody else. And, then I found out that Otto had 3 Men in the Basement because he mentioned it on the show one day. And I was like, wow, he's got another show. Let me follow that. And that's when you were on there with Dave. And I think there was one other person on the show, which I can't remember right now. But I know there was like 4 of you. And I kept on watching. And again, you guys were like so down to earth that I was like, I want to meet these guys because, it made me feel comfortable to say, these guys know what they're talking about. They enjoy what the hobby is. And, they're doing it actually in the basement, which, Otto's place. And I thought it was so cool because, you got the bar and everything. And, you guys talked about everything. But it was just so cool to see that type of arrangement and the relationship you guys had, which was real, It wasn't, like fake, pre-scripted, it was just, you guys really hung out, and from my understanding.
Yeah, we're 2 meatballs, and we really do get along. Like what you see on, like, we're like that when we're not live, when we're alone, we bust each other. We're just, he's a meatball in one way, I'm a meatball in the other way. We fit together.
But that's great. You guys cannot be the same, because if not, it would not work.
I agree.
Just like in every relationship, you got to have the yin and the yang, and opposites attract or whatever. But you guys work so well together, and my best friend, as you know, Michael Raphael, which is also my business partner, he's like you said, 2 parts of the Turtles.
Yeah.
And it's funny because if it was up to my father, my real name would have been Leonardo.
Oh,
my
really?
mother was like, yeah. My mother said, "Oh no, we're never gonna make Leonardo." So it's just Leonard. That's my real name, but everybody calls me Lenny, and it's stuck. And forever, it's always been Lenny. So there's probably a ton of people out there. It's like, really, that's his name,
Yeah.
And
we like Lenny.
Yeah, I like Lenny better. Leonard makes me feel so much older.
Yeah, it's like that's what your mother calls you when she's mad at you, right?
Oh yeah. Oh no, she said the whole name.
Let's say the whole name. Yeah, when your middle name came out, your full first name and your middle name, you were in trouble.
Oh yeah, my father got somewhat his way because he dropped the O from Leonardo and made it my middle name. So my middle name is Omar.
Oh, okay.
And that's a long story by itself. But, it would have been funny, like ever since you always said, "Oh yeah, Michael Raphael, the 2 names of the Turtles." And
yeah,
I'm
because
like,
when we met, he said he talked about how he hated the book. Like he was like, "This is stupid." I'm like, "You're literally named after 2 of them. Like how?"
Well, if you remember the story, his uncle let him read his first print of Ninja Turtles 1, and he colored
it in. Yeah, he colored it in because he thought this is stupid.
It was a coloring book. and it's sad because my end of the story was when I first got my hands on the Turtles when it first came out, and an LCS in Forest Hills, Queens. The guy goes, "Hey, I got a book for you to look at. If you're interested, I got 3 left." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, turtles dressed like ninjas." A few pages. Oh man, it's in black and white. I don't want it.
Yeah. I'm sure you're one of thousands of people who did that same thing and regretted it.
No, I've regretted it ever since.
Yeah. And then you had one guy who bought 20 copies and because he loved it.
Oh yeah, no, and it's just one of those things you remember. And mind you, I was 8, 9 years old. No, maybe a little older when that was available, and it was just many regrets. But you live and learn, and
that's right. Absolutely.
That's why lately, ever since my son got me back into collecting, I've been a bit of a hoarder. As you can see some of the stuff behind me, you start running out of space, and you're like, holy crap, what am I going to do now? Yeah, like you said, you got to get storage.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have all my stuff in the living room. That's why. But
ooh, your wife must love that.
Yeah, I don't have an extra room. Like the downstairs is an in-law, so I don't have a place to put it. So, when it was just a few boxes and they lined up and they hid behind my lazy boy, wasn't too bad. But now that they're 5 feet high by 6 feet wide by 2 deep,
wow, 5 feet high.
Time to do something.
I hope you have some that support system inside of them because 5 feet high, that's just way too much weight, and the bottom one is just
So they're 4 boxes high, but on top of that, I have like pictures and remarks and pops. So
gotcha.
But
so you're using it as a display stand.
Yeah, well, yeah. I tried to sell it that way, but it didn't go over too much. So once I get rid of them, I'm gonna get a nice display stand, and
nice.
I have a spot in the closet here where I'm gonna keep the ones that I'm reading, keep my slabs, so those will be near stuff that I'm selling and submitting. So there's a game plan there. All right, so what's the first thing you ever collected? Was it comics, or did you collect something else before comics? Like a lot, everyone and I always thought we find that people who are obsessed with collecting comics usually tended to start collecting something else first.
Actually, it's funny you bring that up. Yeah, before the comic books, I was big into Lego toys. That was my favorite toy growing up.
Nice.
And I was so obsessed with them that it didn't matter if it came in a set or just blocks here and there. I just wanted something to just build. And, I think that put me in a certain path in life, which I won't tell you now because I know you probably haven't. but Legos was the first thing, and then in junior high school, that's when where again living in New York, a real candy store, where they had video games in the background,
Yeah.
an
Penny
actual
candy.
yeah, and you had candy all over the place, and newspaper. That's when I first saw my first comic book ever.
All right. So when was that? When did you start collecting comics? About how old were you?
8 years old.
8
When I
years
first
old.
started, and I was like, oh wow, and they were so much cheaper then,
Yeah, I bet.
and the
But
first
we don't want to date you, but they weren't 12 cents, were they?
no, not that old. No, I wasn't that old. But the craziest thing out of all the heroes that existed and was available, my favorite was Iron Man. He was the
Really?
first book I started collecting, and I guess I liked him so much because he was super smart, had no powers.
Rich.
Everything was the technology he made.
He was Batman.
Yeah. Well,
but he could fly.
yeah, of course. And it's funny, I didn't like Batman. I really didn't like Batman at the time.
Really?
And I wasn't really big into Spider-Man or the Hulk. Forget about the Hulk then, because they had that TV show back on Lou Ferrigno in those days.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God,
Wow, that
and
was
it's funny. Yeah, it's funny. I finally got to meet him in person at Dragon Con one year. And
was he a jerk?
No, actually, he was really down to earth. Awesome guy, and we talked a little bit because I remember the movie Pumping Iron. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yeah.
But that was like Arnold's first real movie. Yeah, and all those guys, and Lou Ferrigno.
My brother Dave met him at Terrificon.
Okay.
And he's a little bit older than me, so that Hulk show was right when he was at the perfect age. And he absolutely loved Lou Ferrigno. So he goes up and he pays his money to get his picture. And he says to him, "Can you put me like in a headlock, like you're going to punch me?" And he said, "That's an extra $20."
Not surprised.
You want to talk about smashing? You're like, sometimes you don't want to meet the people that you think you like.
Yeah. I saw that he was charging for just about everything.
Yeah.
And
he wanted an extra $20 to put my brother in a headlock to take a picture.
That's too funny. But yeah, at Dragon Con that year, he was charging for everything. I mean, you couldn't even take a picture. He didn't allow it. And
unless you paid for it.
Right. But if you were like 10 feet away and you were trying to take a picture, he'll do something or hide and mess up the picture for you. But yeah, I'm not surprised with these guys.
So you're 8 years old. You're at the candy store. What was that first book that you bought? Do you remember?
Oof. You know what? I know it was an Iron Man book, and it was probably in the series where he is. Man, I just can't remember the issue. All I know was Iron Man, but I can't even see the cover in my mind. All I know,
a long time ago.
Yeah, Iron Man started it for me, and then I started going into the X-Men right after, and that was a big change of the stories, because the X-Men, to me, the X-Men were a bunch of outcasts, and the characters that were created and chosen for the X-Men, and that's where, of course, I got to learn more about Wolverine there because he's one of my favorite characters, and
Canadian.
Yeah, of course. And it was just great reading the X-Men from there. I got hooked, and everything was X-Men. Anything related to X-Men. Then New Mutants came along, and the whole X family from there. But yeah, X-Men was the next series that I just got hooked on.
So where in New York City, living in Hell's Kitchen, does little Lenny buy comic books? Like, what kind of places was it? Always the same candy store? Like, where would you go to buy your comics as you were growing up?
Oh, well, growing up and being in the city, it was actually in newsstands, an actual newsstand.
Like the ones you see on TV, man, like that.
Well, I don't think you see many. Well, they're still existing. They're a lot fancier. They made out of aluminum, and they have, the thing to close.
Back then, they looked like trailers.
Yeah, they were mainly out of wood back then. And, you'd see a comic book you wanted, you pay the guy, and you just, start walking around the city with a comic book, and hopefully, you pay attention when you cross the streets. But yeah, I mean, that's where I used to pick them up in the city. And then we moved from Manhattan into Queens. So it was a totally different ballgame. I found comic books at an actual bookstores, and the front will be books, novels and everything. And then the far back was the comic books. And that's where, just kept on spending.
Yeah, and you're talking about little little bookstores, not like these Barnes and Nobles places. You're talking about
no. We're talking mom and pop bookstores where you walk in and the place is probably 10 feet wide and maybe 20, 30 feet long, and books all over the place in whatever order. And then there's a little section in the back of comic books, or sometimes you had to go to the register and say, hey, you got this book? And the guy would be like, yeah, I think I do. Let me go check. And they'll hunt it down for you. But what I really missed was the comic book shops in the city, because my favorite store used to be Forbidden Planet, for those who remember the real Forbidden Planet, not the one.
Isn't there still?
The last I checked, they still exist, but not the way they were 20, 25 years ago. Forbidden Planet was like the comic book shop in Manhattan. Their basement was huge. They probably had thousands of boxes down there. And the best part is, as soon as you walk down the stairs, you could smell the paper, and you were like, "Wow, this is a comic book shop."
Yeah, a mixture of paper and dust. You mean?
Yeah. But there were also other little ones where the shops were always in the basement. I always found that strange. Why the comic book shops in the basement? I guess rent wise, being in the city, but you go to these basements and you just see boxes and boxes, and you're like, "Oh my God, where do you start?" And there's a little old guy behind a little makeshift register. Is like, what you looking for? Hope 181. I think I know where it is. And he'll just walk to the back, come back. I got 10 copies. Here, pick one. Because I remember when I bought my first Hope 181, it was like $50.
Of course it was.
Yeah, $50 back then. You can't do that today, but back then, $50. It was a lot of money. But still, the guy would show you 10 copies, and you're like, here, pick one. I'm like, oh, this one looks good. Yeah, $50. Okay, no problem. Those were the good old days.
So they had comic shops. So they had comic shops as you were a little older in the city that you would go to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, as time went by, and then I think the biggest franchise.
Mike says $50 back then paid rent for a month. I don't know if it was that long ago, but
I don't know about that.
I think we already established that the books were more than 12 cents.
Yeah, he's probably thinking of a different time zone. But yeah, I mean, and how the industry has grown, because I remember, before big cons, most of the cons back in the old days, they were done in small hotels. I think the Pennsylvania was one of them, and there's some other well-known hotels in Midtown Manhattan where they used to have cons, and they used to be free. You didn't have to pay. And back then, you used to find Stan Lee sitting in the corner just signing books for free. I remember those days, and Jack Kirby and all them, and
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And you know who did? It's funny now that I bring that up. The person that was charging big money back then was Frank Miller.
Frank Miller
was charging an arm and a leg back then. And
he still charges an arm and a leg.
Oh yeah, but as a kid, you're like, well, I could get Stan Lee. He's right here. It's free.
Yeah.
And Frank, Frank was charging an arm and a leg, especially when Dark Knight Return came out. That was huge for him.
He was ahead of the game.
Oh yeah, great story. I mean, I love Frank's writing, and he kept Daredevil going, because one time they were going to cancel Daredevil until he came onto the scene and saved the title from being canceled. So I've always loved his writing style, his artwork. He was ahead of the time, But man, he charged an arm and leg back then.
Well, not only ahead of the time with the writing, but ahead of the time with the cons going. I'm going to make money off of this. You know, how am I going to pay
Oh
my
yeah.
bills when I'm done writing? I need to,
Oh yeah. So I've
So
met so many artists and writers from way back when, and you could remember, how it was then till now. Even Jack Kirby, he wasn't charging no money, you know, to get a signature, and he would always sign it on the inside.
you were walking 2 miles uphill to get there, right? And that's what my both ways. Don't forget that.
Oh,
So
we did a lot of walking in those days.
what is your favorite comic in your collection?
Ooh, my favorite comic book in the collection. Well, there's many, but there's one that I love the story so much, and I could actually show it to you. This was,
Oh, really?
yeah, Exo Man Award for me was big when Valiant, first started, and actually, all of that started with Jim Shooter and everything, but Exo Man Award is, to my heart to this day is my favorite.
Really? No kidding.
And
It's definitely not where I thought you were going with that.
Yeah, there you go. You see, something different. And you know what? I would love to see that in a movie. That would, if with the right budget and the right writer, oh my God, that would be phenomenal.
I'm not familiar with it at all. Maybe I'll have to.
Really?
I mean, I'll have to find a beater copy and read it.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly Bob Layton who did Iron Man, and I guess that's another reason why I like this so much. But the difference between, like when when Tony Stark, he used to have to put the armor or have it underneath him, but he always used to carry a briefcase with the armor in it.
Yeah, right.
And now with the newer stuff, it's that nanotechnology, and it rolls up like a symbiote. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
But with Exo Manowar, it was a live entity. So you should read it. It's interesting. Yeah,
I'll check it out. See, I'm looking for, in our show on Friday, I was telling people to DM me ideas of stories to read, and I'm going to review probably 3 to 4 books every week.
Okay.
Things that I'm currently reading, and probably I'd like to do 3 that I'm reading and one that one of our followers told me to read.
Gotcha.
And give an honest review to it. But that's for another day. So how about your most expensive book in your collection?
Ooh. Well, now with the way the market has been moving, and I didn't pull that one out because that one's very deep in the back. It would be my X-Men #1. It's graded 4.5.
Oh, nice.
I got that as such a sweet deal, and what was it? Probably about 10 years ago. Picked it up for $1,000, already graded, and it was the deal of the century. I had to buy it. And now, if you look at the prices on what a 4.5 is, it's just crazy, And that's even without an actual, how would you say, anything in the movies coming out or showing any of the characters.
Yeah, but X-Men, that's that group that they're just always going to go up.
Oh yeah,
it's not a book that's going to come down. They're the basis of entire part of comic lore. Like you have the X-Men, you have the Avengers. It's never going away.
And you know what's funny? The Avengers was the comic book I hated the most when I was a kid. I just did not like Avengers. They had all the corny villains. It's like when they're individually, they were great. Thor had him, Iron Man his, Captain America his villain. But when they're as a group, back in those days, they're like, oh my God, why can't they get some cool villains? Maybe when in the later years, it got better. But in the earlier days, oh my God, they had the chintziest villains. Ultron was probably the best one they had.
No, I mean nobody said that the older books had the greatest of stories. They were well known for creating characters, but the stories weren't always that great.
True.
I always defer back to the first appearance of Justice League. What a terrible story that is.
Oh,
Starro and Batman and Superman aren't even in the damn story. It's like But
You
you
know,
created a entity that to this day holds. It's huge.
right? Do you know why they didn't put Batman and Superman in it?
No.
They wanted to give the other characters a little more stardom. They wanted to give them more to show the world, hey, this is the Justice League, but let's put Superman and Batman because they were DC stars, right?
Yeah.
So they had to kind of in the first few issues not involve them so much because they wanted to give the other characters a little press release, as you might say, so they could sell the book. But they always put them on the cover or something, but they were not part of the story.
So you're collecting. You've already mentioned that you've sold sets, collected sets, sold sets.
Mhm.
You got back to know your son. So then you decide, I'm going to start pressing.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Like, how do you like? Was just like, I can do this. I'm just going to do my own books and screw around a little, or?
Oh well, what happened was an old friend of mine named Joe. He was doing it, and I one day picked up a copy of Tomb of Dracula 1, and it wasn't in the best of shape. I mean, I got it for $10, but it had potential. The book looked good. It just the creases on it didn't break color. The book wasn't in the best shape, but it wasn't horrible either. And for $10, hey, and mind you, this was probably about 8 years ago. And he was like, "Yeah, come back to my place, and I'll see what I could do for your book." And I'm thinking, what you gonna do to it? And I'm thinking, are we gonna put a truck on top of it, or I mean, what's he gonna do? And then he's like, "Look, I'm gonna clean and press the book for you." And I said, "And how are you gonna do that?" So he's showing me all the steps. Of course, his technique, not the best in the world, but it was that introduction to see that, yes, a book can be cleaned and then the book can be pressed. And if you have the technique for the certain damages the book has, you can get most of it out. Of course, color breaks you can't fill those in. That's called restoration. Color touch. But a lot of the creases, you can get out. And then once he showed me his technique and process, I was like, oh, that was so cool. And now the book looks great. So I submitted the book and it came back, what was it, a 7.0 with off-white pages. And I was like, wow. And I knew based on how I bought it and the way the guy sold me the book, he's like, oh, it's a very good, due to the dirt and grime, the book. It was dirty. It was dirty. And then I was like, wow. And then I remember what he showed me and I was like, well, maybe I should try to do this on my own. Of course, trial and error.
I want to say, was that an easy thing? Like, what's the growing pains that you had to go through? Like, how many books did you ruin?
I went to a con and I told my son, look, help me find any dealer that's selling 25-50 cent books because we need a bunch of books. We need to get a bunch of books, and I must have picked up probably 200 books, all different titles. I didn't care. I didn't care about the title or whatever. It could have been any indie book or whatever, but I chose books from different years and everything because I find out as time goes by, you find out there's different paper, different weight,
different quality,
everything, and then of course you got the card stocks, and then of course you got the glitter books, as I call them, those are the ones with the foil over cardstock, and and then trial and error. I remember destroying literally 150 books within days.
It's a good thing they were 25 centers.
Yeah.
Well, back then they were, right? Who knows? They're probably worth money now.
Yeah, and I was like, well, okay, we got to take notes and keep track of, okay, from these years and that years and perfecting the cleaning techniques. And it was growing pains in the beginning, because of course I didn't have someone there like guide me to say, okay, hey, this is what you got to do, this is what you should do.
Yeah, this other guy gave you pointers and you kind of took it from there. It's kind of like the way my dad taught me to drive stick shift, This is how you do it. Here, it's your car, get in it and learn.
Yeah, he probably said, you listen to that sound, that's when you change gears. And then you hear
Yeah, that's you ruining books.
Yeah, that was me. Just that one's cooked. Wow, you smell that burning? Yeah, it's it was in the fryer too long.
So all the like, getting like adding humidity and how to get some rub and how to get moisture out of there. You learned all that on your own. It's all self-taught.
Yes. Oh yeah, everything self-taught. As like I said, as time went by, and in other words, it took me and peacefully without to a point, because I remember the first few months I destroyed books like crazy. But then as time went by and a little more practice and all, I was like, okay, I think I'm getting the hang of this. And then I did it for 5 years. I had the courage to say, okay, now to start taking books from here and start pressing. So I was like, if I do it to my own books before I do it for anybody else,
right?
And if they come out good, then I'm doing all right. Of course, wasn't perfect in the beginning, but hey, I got books looking from totally mangled to like, oh, now it's flat.
Yeah, like you gotta imagine. Plus, like you said, a different paper,
Yeah,
different page quality. I mean, it's one thing to say, well, I started pressing, you're doing all moderns. All you're doing is getting the wrinkles out.
right.
I mean, some of these, and you know what, I have some pictures here I want to show, because there's a couple of them. Is this it here?
Oh, the famous spine rolls.
Yeah, like, and then just look at like from left to right the difference. One of them here you had. Look at how you were able to get a lot of this water.
Yeah, water
stain out of there. Like that's a huge difference between pressing out, a couple wrinkles in a modern book. Look at the spine roll and it's how flat you got it on the bottom one, and how much whiter it is.
Oh yeah. And the stain removal process came later, because
this Avengers. I mean, it looks like that's a color rub, but that must have been from another book, because you were able to get most of that out in that top right corner.
Exactly, that was.
That's most people will look at that and go, "Oh shit, that's color rub. That's done."
Yeah,
but
it's ruined.
I mean, looking at that, that's what you think, but obviously that white came from another book.
Yep.
And now you're doing books that are this old. I mean, I know, I'm sure it took a while before you got from one to the other. So you're doing them on your own. You start with your own books. You start to do well. Yep. How do you get from there to starting Spineworks?
Okay, so it like I said, in the first 5 years, it was just hobby wise, and perfecting the technique, and then getting into stain removals and stuff like that, because that to me is the hardest part, the stain removals. And then COVID hits, and everything went to hell. I was an operations manager for a company, and the worst part is the owner of the company decided, I'm going to close shop, disappear, and not pay anybody, and left everybody in the wind. And I was like, wow, okay, so now what? And of course, finding another job was like impossible at the time. And of course, as you know, Michael Raphael is my best friend, and he's also my business partner. I actually showed and trained him, So that's why, if you remember, in one of the shows he was on, he's like, "Oh yeah, he's Obi-Wan and he's Anakin."
Anakin, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask that. So he wasn't pressing and cleaning on his own until you kind of showed him and said, "Let me show you how this is done," right?
Yes, exactly. And Mike picked it up really quick, and there was times he would call me and like, "Hey, I got this. Well, how do you do this? I'll send you pictures." And we help each other, and he learned his own technique, and he's gotten so good at it. And as you saw with Dave's book, that was phenomenal.
Yeah. When he got the tape off the back of it, the first Rogue.
Yeah,
a piece of tape on there you didn't even know was there, and I mean, you were able to get it off without any color being removed from the book whatsoever. A piece of tape that had been there since probably the book. Yeah, the guy at the comic store who bought it put it down on a piece of tape, and it was there the whole time.
Right. Yeah, and he's done phenomenal, and I told him, I say, hey, why don't we go into business doing this? Because I mean, there's other guys, especially here in Florida. There's one guy that does work for CBCS, when they were in St. Pete. Even though now CBCS was bought by Beckett and now is in Dallas, he still does work for CBCS. So if he can do it for a living, why can't us? So I brought it up to his attention, and he lost his job also during COVID. And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Let's try." So I made the company legit. Got all.
Where did the name come from?
Oh yeah, that's funny because during the times, I was showing a lot of before and after pictures on Facebook, and I had this, like, anytime I saw a book with a spine roll, I had to fix it. It was just one of those things that, like, I gotta fix that. It bothers me, that spine roll. So I was fixing a whole bunch of books just because of the spine rolls and making them nice and even, flat, and make them look like a comic book again. Because the spine roll comes from when people read them. Back in the day, they would flip the pages backward and keep them, or they will roll them up and stick
put them in their back pocket.
Yeah. And you leave the book like that, it looks like a mess. So one day, a guy on Facebook was like, "Hey, you're like the spine doctor. You know how to fix those spines, man. That's incredible." So I didn't want to use the name Spine Doctor, and I was like, "Oh, I got to figure out something with the spine." And then the Spineworks kicked in, and I was like, "Yeah, I like that. Spineworks counts. Let's go with that." And Mike was like, "Yeah, that works." And it's funny because when some people Google us, I've even gotten calls. You're a doctor? I'm like, in comic books, what? I got the wrong number. It'd be funny because people would actually call him or me and asking if we're chiropractors. But that's where the Spineworks name came from. And I kept it because, again, I was posting so many pictures with, books with spine issues and just putting them back where they belong. And so I was like, okay, we'll go with that name.
Nice.
And then, we started hitting the con scenes, him up north because, he's in the tri-state area and I'm here in Florida. And we, try to, do all the social meeting and, gatherings with people and talk to people about our work. And, it takes time, because, to get people to trust you with their books. I mean,
absolutely.
Hey, I don't know.
Especially ones that are worth money,
Well, of course, but I would tell them, hey, we're a legitimate company. I was able to get insurance because I have two types of insurance. I got for the storage and, of course, natural disasters, fire and stuff like that. And then I got the liability while I'm working on your books. If I, by accident,
yeah, right,
half a page on a $3,000 book, hey, I got to have coverage. And I'm probably one of the first people with Allstate who was given liability insurance for the work we do.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because I spent 3 days with them on the phone explaining exactly what we do, how we do it. I gave them different companies and, websites and stuff like that. And I told them, look, picture us as like the same companies who do restoration on paintings. Those things are millions of dollars. And, there's the ones that clean them, upkeep, and then the ones that actually put them back together. And I said, you guys have insurance for that, right? And they're like, yeah, well, that's similar on a smaller scale. And they were like, well, how much is it? And mind you, I'm talking to the underwriters, and they don't have the slightest idea what comic books are today. And of course, I'm on a call with like 3 or 4 people. And then I tell them, look, you need to go to this side, this side, this side, and you'll see what the value of comic books are today. It ain't like when you grew up. It's become a commodity. It's just like gold and silver and anything else. And they were like, okay, well, thank you for the information. We're going to look into it. We find this very interesting, and we'll give you a call back. Within the next day, I got a call and it says, you've been approved. We're going to give you this. You could choose that. And I was like, awesome. And he goes, you're the first person to actually bring this to our attention and how that part of the business is. We never knew. And after we checked all those sites you gave us. I can't believe a comic book could be worth that much. Let alone that you can actually clean it and make it look better. And I sent them pictures too. They were like, wow, it's amazing what you could do to a book. And people are paying you for that. And I'm like, yeah. but I also gotta protect the customer's profit, because anything can happen.
You can protect both you and the customer.
Right. I mean, I've had a book once, it looked fantastic. It looked like nothing in the world. I took it out of the bag and board, and the book split in two. It was so brittle. And I didn't do nothing to the book, but it was in my possession.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it happened when I took the book out of the bag and board. So I had to, live up to that and say to the owner, say, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I took the book out of that bag and board, and the thing cracked in two.
Thank God you had insurance, right?
Yeah, exactly. So,
Look at this guy, 3 men in a basement, sending a super sticker all the way from Alaska. He's all screwed up. He's late to the show because he doesn't know how to tell time. We're 5 hours behind us, buddy. Thanks for the super sticker. Hope you had it looks like you had a great time at the con. Definitely wished I was there. So, Doug, I see your question, brother. When I get to the con questions, I'm going to ask him that, because I do have a couple people that were definitely overly nice to me at a con. But we'll get to that in a few minutes. So you get Michael on board. You guys are working. You're like, we're going to do this as a business. So now you're Spineworks. What is your favorite book that you've ever got to press? Like, you were like, this is cool that I get to press this book.
Ooh, yeah. And Mike knows this one. And you know it too. It's Jim O'Shea's Amazing Fantasy.
Yeah.
That's my grail book that I would love to have. And the way he got that book is just an
unbelievable. No, that doesn't ever happen to me. I don't ever go in someone's basement and find an AF-15. I mean,
right. I got a better chance hitting
Lotto.
Hit by a car.
Yeah.
But that book was very rough. And if you saw the condition, I think you probably did during the crawl you guys had. And I'll never forget, Mike sends me a text, and he's like, you won't believe how and what I have in my possession. That I'm going to be
little kids. We were all taking pictures with the damn thing.
Yeah, and he's like, you need to fly up, and we got to do these books. And I was like, okay, what is it? He goes, I got an Amazing Fantasy 15. I say, you are lying. I don't believe you. And then he puts together his own little video, and I was like, holy,
he gave you an AF-15, a giant size X-Men #1, a Hulk 181. He was out of his mind with the books he gave you guys.
I was like, wow. I said, right. I think, like Mike put it, I think right there, it was an easy $100,000 value on the book.
Yeah.
So.
Is that the most expensive book you've pressed?
As of right now, yes. The AF-15 has been the most expensive. I mean, the book came back at 2.5, and even with the page conditions and everything, I mean, I think at the time was worth probably 24K. So
crazy.
That was probably the most expensive. But the hardest part in that, the issue with that book is, and a lot of people did it back in the old day, they put tape all along the spine. And they did that for one or two reasons. One, it fell apart after reading it so much.
Yeah.
They put it back together. Or two, they did it as a preventive to say, well, I'm going to read it. I'm going to,
I don't want it to rip,
Right. So they did that to protect the spine, because I've seen so many other books the same way. And it's interesting enough that CGC does not ding you for that.
Really?
Yeah, they don't. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have a more modern day book and you put tape on it now, then
no, right. But I think that I have like a First Kang,
right?
There's some tape on the spine. I have a First Dr. Fate, which also has tape on the spine. You're telling me they won't knock it for that?
No,
that's not considered restoration.
No, if they see that the tape is more current, then they're restored.
That's one thing, right? No, this looks as old as the book.
Right. You can see that the tape turns yellow, brown. They know that was like, how would you put it? It's almost like similar to the days when they used to write the date
on there,
on the covers. That was done because of the candy shops,
Yeah.
newsstands. You know, after a certain period of time, they were able to send them back and get some sort of you know, portion of the money back of the book. Whereas now there was a time where they ripped the top part of the book by where the
Right. When they returned it,
you know,
right?
the main time. And unfortunately, a book like that gets hammered. You know, I've seen some books from the late 50s, early 60s. They look gorgeous, except for that missing
Top
part.
half is, yeah. I
And
think Everett's got one like that, yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, wow, why did why they did that? And of course they did it because the let's say the pharmacy, because a lot of those pharmacies back in the mom and pops, they would have a little rack with the
Yeah,
books.
spinner rack. Yeah.
Right. And you know, after a certain period of time, they're like, well, I want to get my money back on it. They'll take a ruler or with a razor, you know, and take it off and send them just the title back.
Shame.
Yeah. You know, it's just like the people used to cut out Marvel stamps.
Yeah.
You know, they should be shot. But
you ever press a book for somebody famous that you know of?
Somebody famous. I did.
Or like an artist or a comic creator, like someone in the business. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Anna, I know she'll probably kill me. Her last name is Zoll, and I think I sent you a picture of it. But if I'm correct, I got her book right here because it's one of my favorites. And she's a huge up and coming artist.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I absolutely. When you sent me that, I thought you were sending because you were going to give it to me.
And yeah.
Hold that book back up. That is freaking beautiful. I absolutely love
eyes. Yeah. If you see the eyes, that did it for me.
It's amazing.
And she did this for me because I pressed her Amazing Spider-Man 194, First Black Cat. It was, if I'm correct, it was originally an 8.5. And she gave it to a facilitator of ours. And I'm going to give a shout out to Brian Weeks from Alpha Omega. She and him work together very well. And he goes to me, hey, I got this book from Anna. And I'm like, Anna who? You know, you can throw names and I don't know.
Yeah.
And he probably thought I knew who it was and pressed out her book, you know, did like I always do, you know, because every book that comes by me, I give them all the same attention. Like they're like my own. So, you know, I'm not prejudiced against any titles or, you know, publications. It's just, you know, you give it to me, I'm going to take care of it like it's one of my own.
Sure.
So I clean and pressed her book, and I don't like giving out grades to people because, you know, some people hold that against you and forget about it. The book doesn't come back the grade you say.
Yeah.
Hang you. Right? So, but, you know, he got the book graded, and he goes to me, hey, you won't believe what that book comes back as. And I go, what, 9.2? You know, 9.4? He goes, no, you got that sucker up to a 9.8. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. You know, I'm happy for her. She sent me this big message through Facebook and, you know, thanking me. And then she posted it. And oh my God, that just broke hell through you know, especially the other pressing companies that are out there, or guys who, you know, just press on their own or whatever. And I got, you know, put through the ringer because of the verbiage she used in the ad. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get hanged by a whole bunch. You know. But you know what? I was so happy for her, and then, you know, we finally met in person, and I was like, hey, I got this Kanan one. Can you do an Ahsoka on it? And she goes, I'll do even better. I'll do an Ahsoka, and I'm gonna put a Baby Yoda in it. I was like, okay. And when I saw the outcome, I was like, wow, that is phenomenal.
It's awesome.
It was just gorgeous. And she posted it on her site because she does a lot of stuff. And now she's, like I said, she's getting bigger in her own way. And, you know, she learned from working with Artgerm and their studio company. And like I said, she's doing a lot of independent stuff. But her artwork is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a beautiful book.
Oh yeah. I mean, I give it maybe a year or two now that everything's back to normal or some sort of normalcy. You'll see her like, big and Marvel or DC or whatever. But she does a lot of stuff in independent companies. But her work is phenomenal.
Yeah, that was a beautiful book. So you talked about cons, and there were some questions about it. So we know you go to cons, you witness,
Yep.
if you're there for your business, you take submissions, and
Yep.
so what is your favorite con? I guess is it different for working and attending as a fan?
Oh yeah, there's a huge difference because we've been doing so many cons that we set up now, and it's not the same where you're just hanging out, having fun, and shooting the shit with people, and you still do that to a degree, but you're stuck where you are.
Yeah.
Whereas other cons, you're just running around, checking boxes, going here, talk to dealers, and try to strike a deal or whatever. Where when we set up, it's people. I've had a guy one time at one con come in with a silver briefcase, and I'm like, okay, here comes a high roller. He comes over and he goes, I've had these for 40 years. And he opens up the briefcase and pulls out a Spider-Man 1, an X-Men 1, Daredevil 1. And I'm like, okay, we got all the ones here. And he's like, I've heard about you guys through Facebook. And I was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And he's like, I want you to just make them beautiful. Do whatever you can. I know they're a little dirty. They're a little beat up. They're from my childhood. And he goes, do what you can so then we can get them graded. Because it's incredible. In this day and age, you'll have people say, I've never graded a book in my life.
Yeah.
But I want to do it because it looks beautiful. I want to put it on my wall. Because, of course, you're not going to put a raw book on the wall. And
No.
you're going to stick a tack onto it.
Yeah, right through Spider-Man's head.
Yeah, right. But he's like, I'm doing it because I want to put it on my wall in my man cave, and I want to see it there every day. So do what you can, make them look beautiful, and what do I need to do? Again, it's awesome meeting these people because I don't know them from a hole in the wall, and they've come to see us at the cons, and they're like, hey, I've heard everything about you guys through Facebook and Instagram, and I it's an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
And mind you, a lot of people is handing this stuff over, and it's like these are their babies, and their prized possessions, and you got to treat them with a lot of respect and treat the person with the respect to say, hey,
I'm gonna take care of these, right?
I'm gonna take care of these for you, and
Yeah.
And the business has grown so much that I think I told you I've hired my son on, and we're still growing. I'm just waiting for Mike to move from New York to Florida so we can, make it a more joint effort.
Yeah, buy a big building. With 30
pressers. Maybe not buy, but we'll start with something.
Start small. Yeah, we gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere. But in house right now, it looks like a madhouse. I just got boxes all over the place, and thank God we have it in some sort of order where you can say, well, this one belongs to this person, this one came on this day, and so forth and so forth.
Feel free to send me an AF-15 by accident. I will. So out of all the cons, what's your favorite con that you've gone to?
Out of all the cons I've been to, and I think it's still my all-time, I would say my all-time favorite. And mind you, it's not really a Comic Con, but it's just because of the surroundings and how everybody is. It's Dragon Con, which is in Atlanta. And if I'm correct, Dragon Con has been now going on probably like 20 years or more. And it's more of a cosplay type con. And I find it amazing because you have to say to yourself, dang, these people make their own costumes. And it's like, going to a movie.
I mean, I was all in one year at Terrificon where we really went nuts making costumes, and I know what the work went into. I could not imagine doing that every year.
Yeah, well, I know Otto dressed his whole family like the Incredibles.
Yeah, the Incredibles, and then it's the year we did the Teen Titans.
Right.
I mean, all the stuff that I had to buy just to make all the different costumes.
Oh yeah.
put it
It's
together
it's
and glue and tape and sewing and
yeah,
painting and
it's work. It's work. So you got to
yeah.
give it to these people. You're like, wow, that person put tons of hours. I mean, one of the best costumes I saw, and mind you, this was probably about 6 years ago. Someone did an Ironman costume. And I mean, this guy, I asked him, I said, did you buy this? Or he's not, I made this with my 3D printer. But the way he made it, I mean, he made the paint does it all.
Yeah.
It made it look like it was made out of metal. Not only that, the flaps moved, lighting in his hands, and I was like,
awesome.
wow. And I asked him, how many hours is it? He said, this took 2 or 3 months, I think he said.
I would say, but that's something you use every year. You don't make one of those every year. When you make something that epic, you go as Iron Man every damn year.
Yeah, you're right. But I was like, wow, that's amazing. And that's why I love that con, because you see so many creative people, and it's just incredible. What I mean?
So Doug was asking us, what comic book creators have you met who were great to the fans? So I'm going to go first real quick. The two guys that were the nicest to me, who would have talked all day if, there weren't people behind me giving me the stink eye, was Roy Thomas and Billy Tucci.
Oh, yeah.
Billy Tucci did a little commission, little remark on a book, a Suicide Squad book that had Harley on it. It was actually his Terrificon variant, and he added a little thing, and we started talking about our kids. He goes, let me add color this for you. And we started talking about our kids were the same age, they played lacrosse, and I got to talk to them all day. The people behind me are like, what the hell, dude? Like, so those are the two guys that I think that when I met them, I was very, like, Roy Thomas would have just kept talking and talking, and you got a line of people behind you, so you feel bad, but they just love talking to the people that are there. I mean, if I'm there with a CGC guy asking for a commission, I think the conversation's maybe a little different. But when you're going there just to get this guy's signature and you're talking about the book, I remember Roy Thomas. I remember when we came up with this idea. He goes into the, it's like reminiscing about your childhood. And I thought that was the coolest thing. How about you?
Well, let's see. I met so many people. But I think the most down-to-earth person I've met was Capullo at MegaCon one year.
Yes, and Lenny is out of Florida, comic noob. Sorry.
Yes, Kissimmee, Florida. But yeah, meeting Capullo, he was so down-to-earth. And mind you, when I met him is when he started doing the Batman 52 run. He left doing Spawn to do that. And, he was just so down to earth. He talked to me for like 20 minutes and the line was like a mile long.
Yeah.
But
that's like, there's the other guy that I keep forgetting his name. We had on our show in New Hampshire.
Oh, Jim Shooter.
Jim Shooter. I mean, he would have talked to us all night long on camera if we weren't afraid that we were pissing him off or anything.
No, but he's down to earth because I think one of the main things he's at a certain age of his life, and he's got a legacy,
memories, and
you got to keep in mind Jim Shooter brought Marvel back up, to a point where they were selling comic books like crazy, what I mean? And then he left Marvel to do Valiant, and he started a whole new universe. And I remember when all that came into play. But between him, like I said, meeting Capullo, Steranko, Jim Steranko's a trip.
Yeah, just don't try to take his picture.
Oh well, besides
he hates having his picture taken. I had to sneak one in one time, and Everett was like, "I'm gonna shake his hand and look at you, and snap the picture." I'm like, "You're gonna get me kicked out of the Comic-Con, dude." And we did it, and he looked at me, and he goes, and he pointed at me, and he's like, "That's the last time." And I was like,
the most funniest thing I've seen Jim Steranko do at a con, the line was big. And, it's mostly guys with their books and, please sign this, please sign that. This, model type woman comes in. She looks like a 10. And I'm like, There's no way in hell she collects comics. Boyfriend probably put her online or something, and he just drops everything, stands up and says, "Hi, I'm Jim. And what's your name?" And everybody was just like, "Okay." And he talked to that girl for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. And I was
Yeah, I
like,
bet.
oh my God.
Everett tells a funny story. He went in there the first time he met him. He's like all excited. He's got pics from when he was a kid, and all Jim Steranko wanted to know is how much Everett bench pressed. He's like, how much can you press? That's all he can. What kind of workouts do you? What do you eat? That's all he was asking him. He's like, you kidding me? I meet my idol. I want him to sign this stuff, and I got to talk about the gym.
Oh, that's funny. That's good.
All right, so we're gonna move on. So we have one of the questions I ask everybody: something
Sure.
in your personal collection that you don't always get to show, that you really never share with anybody. With everything that you're doing, and usually when we're on social media, it's relevant stuff to today's collecting or what you're doing. So, do you have anything like in your collection that you think is pretty cool that you want to share with us? Or?
Oh yeah, actually I do. Here we go. Let's see if you recognize this.
Hold on. Highlight this guy, man. All right.
Have you seen that before?
I have not.
Okay.
Okay.
So Fantastic Four 110. This is one of the first early Marvel era books.
Okay.
As you can see, the Fantastic Four is pink.
Yeah, like and their faces are green and
green. Yes.
Thing is green.
Yeah, this was one, and Erod loves this book, from my understanding. This is one of the first early Marvel era books that was, printed, sent out, and hit the stands. And from what I've read, people were like, "What in the world is this normal?
Yeah,
why are they pink? And why are their faces green?" So
holy crap.
I think at the time, newsstand people, whoever contacted the distributor and said, "Hey, I think there's something wrong with the book." And then they told people, "Send it back. Send the books back. And we'll look into it." And then, of course, they reprinted the book with the correct colors.
Correct.
And, there's a demand and huge value behind this book right now.
Sure, I bet.
Because there's only so many in existence. Because again, they told the people who had them, "Hey, send them back, and we'll give you the correct version." So they had to reprint the book. But this is one of my more favorite cool.
Oh, that's so awesome! It's so damn unique. Like, how many people can say they have that? Like, do you know how many are on the census?
I don't. I know.
I'd be interested to know how many are actually graded. Like how many people may have this, don't even realize that it's an error.
Right, exactly. And you won't believe it, I found it not even at a comic book shop. It was a video game shop in Tampa, Florida.
Of course, it was.
And yeah, right. And I just happened to say, "Oh, they sell used video games." So I just for kicks and giggles walked in, and 3/4 of the store was all video games and game systems.
Yeah.
And then one little section was comic books. I was like, "Oh, good. Let me see what they got." Started digging in boxes, and I saw this. I was like, "No way!" And a week before I end up finding this, I read about the story.
No kidding.
Of this book, and looking, Lord and behold, it's there. So of course I grab it with a whole bunch of other stuff, and I ask the guy, "How much you want for it?" He's like, "Oh, there's no price on it." And I'm like, and mind you, I bought it raw when I first got it. And he's like, "What's the price on it?" I was like, "Well, there's no price on it. How much is it?" And the guy goes, "Well, I don't know, give me $15." I was like, "Hey, it's yours." Gonna get the money out of my pocket quick enough because I already knew.
What is the GPA on that right now? Roughly.
Roughly, I think there was one in auction not long ago at a 7 or 7.5, and it went for like $800-900.
Nice.
They're not cheap. Of course, the higher the grade, the higher the price. But again, this is a little bit of Marvel history of what I would say a big oops, boo boo.
Yeah.
You know, the colors didn't work out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Their pink outfits just don't work, man. Their green faces, thing is green. Like it's like, what is that? The St. Patrick's Day special?
Yeah. I don't know, but you know, it was. And I actually owned the regular one, but this one's so cool.
Yeah, that is a neat thing to have in the collection.
Yeah, so that would be like, you know, like you said, one of those books that, you know, I don't show it too much or talk about it too much.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But it's one of those era books is just like, yeah, you know, and I've shown that to a few people and they're like, I've never seen that before.
No, I never heard of it. I mean, you know.
And then of course they ask, why is it pink? I don't they screwed up with the colors. I don't know.
So Jose is saying 8.5 on eBay and they're asking $2,500 for it. So I'm sure like anything else, Fantastic Four is going on. All the prices are rising. So when you have something unique, like an error like that, it's just like, you know, a book with a Mark the Jewelers insert or you know, a Canadian variant. People are going nuts for those things. And they're asking 5.0 for $1,400.
Yeah, see, I think somebody said up.
So.
Oh yeah, like I said, they're not cheap books.
Unless you can find them in a video game store, right? Find them on a video game store.
You know, and that's it was just sheer luck. I was driving after, and it was funny that day we went to a small con at a hotel, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, we did good at the con and, you know, bought a bunch of stuff and we're driving around the area looking to get something to eat, you know, lunchtime. And then I see this video game store and I was like, yeah, for kicks and giggles, let's go in there. And Lord of behold, I find that book.
See that? That's why you always look, right? That's why we hunt.
Yeah, so you gotta hunt.
When are we gonna get an interactive website from Spineworks? Like, what's in the future from Spineworks? I mean, you can't keep taking submissions through Facebook Messenger, can you? I mean, when are you guys going to get a nice complete website where people can go, they can submit online, pay online, you know? Right. I mean, you guys are getting to that point where you're hiring people. It can't be easy to start to do these things on your own. Man.
Now, we already have the domain. We actually had the website. Mike set it up. And we were actually talking about it that, you know, we need to actually reactivate it and start setting it up, make it nice and fancy. And actually, you probably remember Jason Azari from Capture Collectibles.
Yeah.
He was up there in New Hampshire and he has an awesome website and he has a guy who did his website and I got to meet him. So I might, you know, collaborate him and Mike so we can build a you know, some sort of real website.
You definitely need someone who knows how to web design because for years I had a website for charity organization in Hartford here that was part of the Livestrong Foundation. Right. I mean, just for me to change like the article, it's like I don't know what I'm clicking. What the hell am I doing here? I have to call my guy. Luckily, we bartered, you know, and it's like, dude, I just want to change the article. Can you make this easier for me?
Yeah, it's not easy, and you know, maybe for some people who are very good at, you know, all that, you know, zeros and ones. Oh, hallelujah, he's pretty cool. What's up? And
so if that's what the future holds, a nice website. Yeah. What else? You got big plans?
Well, we're going to be at several bigger cons. Like I was before, you know, we came on air. Brian Weeks from Alpha Omega, he's one of the other facilitators we work with. He was talking to me about MegaCon, and MegaCon is a 4-day con. It's the biggest for Central Florida, next to the Tampa Con. And it's been going on for years. And we were talking about the setup and how we're going to do it because certain change. I can't talk about it too much of the details, but something has come about, and now we are going to be super busy at that con. So we have to now get together and do a powwow and see how we're going to do this because it's going to be a madhouse for us.
And when's
if I'm correct, it's in August. Yeah, it's in August, so it's not far away.
mean, you guys are coming to Terrificon. You're coming to Terrificon, aren't you?
Well, that's still up in the air.
This is crap. That's our con, man. You have to come, even if you're just coming as a fan to hang out with the boys.
You know, and I was thinking about that because it just so happens it clashes at the same time with TampaCon, and we're set up for that also. So it just you know, with the COVID, it just collided. Too many cons. They're just clashing. Too many.
Well, everybody's trying to get, you know, 12 months of cons into a 4-month window, you know?
Exactly, because, you know, winter's not far away.
Yeah, exactly. So you have all the cons that couldn't be earlier this year to trying to fit them in, but you're kind of stepping on the toes of all these other guys. So
right, because from my understanding, like C2E2 is going to be in December. And I was like, oh, you know, and stuff like that. But it's just too many cons in a small period. So
well, if you don't come to Terrificon, I'm going to take it personal. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm going to just throw that out there, right? This thing, you didn't come to our swap, and look at all the people that you missed by not coming to the swap. You know.
Well, at least Mike was there to represent. You know.
Yeah.
Which was good, and he did very well. He loved it. He said it was nonstop. You guys did so well. And I'm so happy for you guys.
Well, part of that is being able to do stuff like having you guys there to submit books on site, and you know, and the vendors that showed up, and it was definitely a lot of fun. Maybe next year you'll make it.
Oh yeah. I think next year will be a totally different ball game because everything will be spread out more.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that it works better, because right now it's just too many cons on top of other cons dates, and it's not good, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, like I said, if you don't come to Terrificon, I'm going to take it personal. So, all right, so we're running to the end here. So our next step is rapid fire with the Kranky Canadian. And if you're not familiar with this, and by the way, anybody in the chat watching this rewind, in the description of this video is links to Lenny's Instagram page, and then Spineworks Instagram and Facebook pages. If you go back and see a week ago, me and the brother did an unboxing.
Oh, yeah.
All those books came from Lenny's and Spineworks, and they did a phenomenal job. I couldn't have been happier. I was due, I think, for a good submission. It's either that or someone even said in the chat, boy, I think you're getting a little better at choosing a grade for the books that you submit. That could be part of the reason.
Yeah.
But either way, I was content with that. So I have 15 questions here.
Okay.
The concept is you answer the first thing off the top of your head, but if you need to elaborate, it's okay. Some of these are a little tough.
Okay.
Some of them not so much. So, all right. So Dunkin' or Starbucks?
Starbucks.
Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Iron Man or Cap?
Iron Man.
Have you ever been mistaken for someone famous, and who?
Yes, several times.
Ponch?
Yeah, Eric Estrada. I don't know how that. I'm not going to go too far back, but when I had a different life, people say because of the smile, and I guess because I'm Latino, he's Latino.
Yeah.
A lot of people's like, you look like Eric Estrada. And I'm like, really? Well, I don't think so.
I'm calling you Ponch from now on, bro.
Plus, I've gained some weight since those days, so I don't know how, but I don't see the resemblance. But Mike and a whole bunch of other people always say that smile reminds you of Eric Estrada. But yes. That's
funny. Okay, if you could be any animal, which would you choose?
Any who? Animal?
Animal, yeah.
Well, I'm a Leo, so I guess I'd have to stick to my sign as a lion.
You want to be a lion?
Yeah.
What is your kryptonite?
Oh. What is my kryptonite?
Yeah.
Well,
mine's cheesecake.
Okay. I can't eat that stuff anymore. So, yeah, I would say that would be a kryptonite to me now. Again, remember, like I said, when you're younger, you can deal and do so many things,
Yeah.
As you get older, I don't know, man, your body just starts falling apart.
Is there that one thing that when it shows up, you're like, you can't say no? Like, you can't even look at it because you know you can't turn it down?
Oh, pizza.
Yeah.
I see it. I'm like, ooh, I got to try.
Like, I can turn down cheesecake and stuff. The guys at work know that if they show up with strawberry Fanta, I'm a crack fiend. I'm like, give me more. I can't.
Yeah.
And I get so mad when they get it. They do it just to mess with me.
The worst thing is I've actually eaten a whole pie by myself. I'm like, how the hell did I do that?
Though. So
yeah,
good,
but
especially when you find a
so
pizza
bad.
you like.
Yeah, that's the thing. Down here in Florida, it's almost impossible to find good pizza. But when I'm in another state like Chicago or back in New York,
yeah,
I probably have a pie by myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's okay. You're allowed once in a while.
Yeah, right.
So, one piece of advice you would give 10-year-old Lenny.
Okay. One piece of advice I'd give 10-year-old Lenny. I would have to say, save your money. I think that was, I would have to say, because man, I used to spend money like crazy. As soon as, again, the comic books, as soon as I got $1, it was straight to comic. and back in those days, allowance for 10-year-old Lenny, I think allowance was like $5 a week. It went all to comic books, and I spent money like crazy. So yeah, I would have to say,
Save your money.
Save your money.
All right, Dairy Queen or Friendlies?
Friendlies.
If you could have any superhuman power, what would it be?
Any superpower? You know what? I'd probably say, wow, it's, I guess time travel.
Time travel.
That's be able to go through time backwards and forwards.
Like the Flash, be able to run through time?
Yeah, or like Kang.
There you go. That would be a good one. I always choose flight, but I guess time travel would be pretty cool too.
Yeah.
All right, this is a tough one. So,
okay.
If you could have dinner with 3 people, any 3 people, dead or alive, real or fantasy, make believe, who would it be?
Well, I would have loved to have sat down with Adam West when he was still alive. I got to see him maybe a few months before he passed away. That would have been nice. That's one. 2, Linda Carter. I think she's awesome when she was doing. I mean, she's still beautiful.
She's still gorgeous. It's unbelievable.
Oh my God! It's just her eyes, just that little small scene and the only best part of Wonder Woman 84 part of her
post-credit scene.
Yeah, and then the third person would probably be damn, that's tough. I would have to say probably James Dean, because he was just one cool badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would say James Dean.
It's funny you say Adam West. Real quick story. My wife's uncle is Joey Tata. So Joey Tata was the guy who played Nat in the 90210 show. He owned the Peach Pit in that show, the 90210.
Oh, okay.
Well, he was like an ongoing goon in the original Batman series.
The TV series.
The TV series. So he'd be one of the guys getting beat up, and that's how he started his career in acting.
Oh wow!
And
nice.
we were cleaning their mom's house, and we came across an original script from the original Batman series, and I was going to wait in line and have Adam West and Ward sign this thing.
Right.
And he passed away before that show. So I just gave the book back and here, we didn't have that chance. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay.
What would you pick for your last meal?
Oh, my last meal. It's got to be a steak, ribeye, medium rare.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Make it Kobe, like the casino, $350 a steak,
Yeah.
What would be the first thing you would buy if you won Lotto?
The first thing I would buy if I hit the lottery. I think I want a bigger house. That's for sure. But out in more country where my nearest neighbor is like 10 miles down the road.
One wing with just comic books and presses.
Yeah, there's got to be that awesome. I mean, I would have it built, custom made, and I would have to tell him, hey, I want a room in the center of the house, but hidden, with an imaginary,
a little bit like the statue, like the Batcave.
Yeah.
Push the head, hit the button, and the door opens.
Right. And it's funny. I actually have a customer who loves Batman like crazy. His name is Paul. He goes by Paul 50. And when I went to his house, he goes, "What do you think of my setup here?" And he's got Batman toys and here and there. I was like, "Man, this is pretty cool." He goes, "But this ain't the real Batcave." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Come here." He had a bookshelf setup, and it looked like a real bookshelf. But he pressed a button, moved it in a certain way, and he was able to move it to the side, and it was another hidden room in there with the most incredible books,
That's
toys.
That's right there.
It was just mind blowing. I was like, I want something like that.
That would be cool for sure. Every guy's dream, I guess.
Yes.
If you could win a gold medal in any sport, real or fake, what would it be?
I would say, I guess, probably in some sort of swim meet of sort,
So you don't want to take gold in comic pressing?
I don't think that exists out there.
Well, I said real or fake,
Yeah, that's true. You did say that. But, I would, some sort of,
nice.
The ability to do it in a swim contest would be kind of cool.
Curling. Michael Raphael wants to do it in curling. I'd be all right with that. I'd like a gold medal in hockey for sure. When you were 6 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I would have to say at the age of 6, a cook.
Cook, really?
Yeah, because my father was a chef.
Oh, nice.
And he did it for 35 years. And he taught me cooking at the age of 6. It was crazy. He put me on a little stool, and the first thing he had me do was crack some eggs into a pan. Man, and he's like, no, you gotta have a little more finesse with those eggs. I was just crushing them in there.
Yeah, sure. You're 6. What are you gonna do?
But at 6 years old, he's like, hey, crack those eggs and put. I was like, okay. Now I'm no master chef, but I cook pretty well, and now I can take 2 eggs in each hand and crack them and put them in a pan.
So next time we're together, you're cooking dinner, pal.
There you go, or breakfast.
All right, last one.
Okay.
What is something you wish that you could be good at?
Something I wish I could be good at. I think I've always found it fascinating how to draw. I can't draw to save my life, but my brother, on the other hand, and even my mother, oh my God, they can really draw freehand some incredible stuff.
Really?
And I've always wished I could do that, but I can't draw to save my life. Mm-hmm.
Stick figures.
Yeah. I'm all stick figures and weird little
That's
things.
me.
Yeah.
All right, that's all of them. That's the rapid fire.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've been going for an hour and a half. It seems like it's been 10 minutes.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to wrap it up here. I mean, this has been great. This is the part where I'm going to highlight you, and you're going to tell people, push whatever you got. Tell them who you are, where they can find Spineworks, where they can find you, what you got coming up, and all that good stuff, man. You're up.
All right. So again, we're on Facebook and Instagram, Spineworks Comics, and again, there's 2 of us. We're one in Florida located, and the other one's in the New York tri-state area, Michael Raphael. And we will be at MegaCon, TampaCon, and we're going to try to be at probably C2E2 and several other cons. It just, unfortunately, so many of them are just crashing on the same dates. But if anybody has any questions about cleaning and pressing, reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you. No orders too small, no orders too big. And we give all the love to people's books like they're our own. And we're here to provide a service. And service is, you know, the main part of the business. And that's how we get repeat business. And of course, people happy with their books when they get back. Most of them from CGC or CBCS. But, you know, we're here to help everybody in the community.
That's good stuff. And guys, you know, you've seen our videos. We use them. 3 Men in the Basement use them. You know, when I first started the show today, I called you the nicest guy in comics, and I 100% believe that. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with Lenny, you know, before even doing business with him, and you are one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and I appreciate you for sure.
No, I appreciate that much. I appreciate
Mike Benson, thank you very much. Great show, guys. Appreciate the super chat, man. You know, we always do. I think I missed one earlier, guys. I apologize 100%. Actually, I missed Michael Raphael's $10 super sticker. Appreciate the super chats and super sticker. I'm going to give one. Got to give a super chat video. Let's go with the Show Me the Money.
Hey, I got Bob Sugar on the other line. I better hear you say it.
Yeah, no. Show you the money.
Not show you. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Yeah. Louder.
Show me the money.
That's it, brother. But you got to yell that shit.
Show me the money.
I need to feel you, Jerry.
Show me the money.
Jerry, you better yell.
Show me the money. Show me the money.
Love that clip.
I love it.
Everybody
awesome.
in the chat, remember, or you're watching on Rewind, in the description of this video, you look at Show More, you're going to see the links to Spineworks on Facebook and Instagram. You'll see Lenny's link on Instagram. If you are only here to see Lenny, please sub up to 3 Men in the Basement. You know, we wouldn't mind having the subs. You know, give this video a like. Make sure you hit that notification bell, guys, because when we go live or we do our trivia nights that people are looking for, you know, if it's impromptu, you ain't going to know about it unless you hit that notification bell. And, of course, leave a comment in this video. If you're watching on Rewind, let us know. If you have any questions, we can follow up and all that good stuff. So, Lenny, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being on my show.
Oh, thank you, man.
Thank you for all you do for 3 Men in the Basement. You guys, you and Michael Raphael, definitely glad to call you guys friends and happy that we met. Glad you reached out that time. Well, I don't know, a year ago, said we wanted to get together and have dinner, and it's been a great friendship ever since. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you too.
All right, so on behalf of 3 Men in the Basement, Everado, Dave in the Cave, I am Roger Levesque, the Kranky Canadian. And that's all we got for now. I'm going to go watch the Canadians win a hockey game. All right? Go Habs, go. Vive le Canadien. Good night, Canada.